So you're welcome back to this episode of this video, and in this video we are going to learn about JavaScript arrays. Now arrays in JavaScript stores more than one value using index value pair. So it's somewhat like what I showed you in the last video about string. You recall how to get a character from a string. You have to know the index. So that is also the same with arrays. Arrays store more than one value using index value pair. So if you know the index, then you can get the value. So after we learn how to declare an array, we are going to now learn how to get an item from an array, and we are going to use the index just as we use for our strings. Then we're also going to learn how to get the length of an array, so it's similar to that of strings. We're going to see that in a moment. Then how to use some array methods like push, pop, shift, unshift, and splice. So let's begin. So I'll dive into my VS Code. I'll open my browser, which is already open. So I'll just clean up all this so that to be neat. So if I save, browser will be closed. So yeah, we are going to learn about arrays. Now, one of the use cases of an array is this. So let's say you want to store the names of the first best student in a class. So let's say let JS1 be equal to, so let's say the first best student might, if you like to use a string, you can, but that will be very, very stressful. Now, and I'll show you why a string is not as useful as an array. So if I say the first name, let's say it is A space B space C space D space E. So this is just a name, so that will not type much. But if I want to give this a real name, we can say Abel. We can say Blessing. We can say Chima. We can say Daniel or David. And we can put Eric here. So these are just the real names. So if I do a console.log JS1, save, you notice I have this Abel, Blessing, just like that. Now, what if I want to get just the Abel? So will it be right for me to do 0, 1, 2, 3, 4? Well, that is not possible. Remember, for this thing, you have to count each of the characters. So there's actually a method for you to extract each of these, but you have to know this index and this index, then this index of B and the index of G, the index of, I think that is using the substring. So that is, you see that it is troublesome if you want to get each of these names. But now let's use it as an array. So I'll select best in JS1 be equal to, so I'll put an array. This is a string, so I can have Abel, comma, Blessing, comma, Chima, comma, string David, and the last one is Eric. Now if I do my console.log best inject one, so you notice I'll have this Abel blessing and this, and using VS Code, so not VS Code, Chrome Developers Tools, if you tap on this play button here, you notice it will show you their index. So this is something that you don't get to see on a string, but you get to see it in an array. So this is the index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So meaning that if I want to get Chima, for example, if I put my array bracket and put 2, that means I'll have Chima. This is nice. And using arrays, you can loop through them. By the time we learn about loops, but using string, you cannot do that. So we've learned how to declare a string variable. Now it's not compulsory that the values in a string must be in an array must be a string. It can be a number, it can be 22, it can be a boolean, it can be true, it can be undiff, it can be null. So any valid data type in JavaScript can be the value of an array. Now each of these names, Abel, blessing, and this is called the items of an array. Of course, they all have their index, which you can use to access them. So if I save, you notice it still shows like this. So the next thing I want to learn is how to get the length of an array, which is very, very simple. So I'm going to do this shift or arrow down, and I'm going to put dot length. So if I save this and go to my browser, I'll see that the length of the array is 8, and you're also seeing that it is showing on this play button. So actually the items inside the array, that is what determines the length of the array. So there are 8 items, but the index starts from what? 0. So the maximum is 7. So if you know the length of the array, if you subtract by 1, that will give you the highest index. Now if you know the index, the highest index of the array, if you add by 1, that will give you the length of the array. So that's just something you need to remember. And the next thing is how to use some array method like pop, push, shift, unshift, and splice. So let's learn the first one, which is what? The pop. So the pop, is used to add items at the end of the array. So if I move down, no, the pop is used to remove, not add. Remove items from the end of the array. Then while the push is used to add items to the end of the array. And we have the shift. The shift is used to remove items from the start of the array, and while the unshift is used to add items to the the start of the array. Unshift. So let's begin with this one. So remember that as at this point, if we bring down this best.js downward, so if I save, that is what you'll be seeing as the last thing in our console.log. So if I pop which means to remove the last item, which is to remove that null. So if I say best student in JS1 dot pop, so if I save, yeah, I'm not going to see the latest one, so unless I bring it downward, is what I want. So if I bring it down, notice that the null has been popped out. So what about the push? So the push can be used to add an item to the end of the array. So if I add I and maybe add 55, so you can add as many things as you want. So you notice that I have my pi and I have my 55. Now the shift is used to remove. So shift what arrow down from the end of from the start of the array. So if I put here shift, now anyone that is to remove does not accept any arguments. So if I save this, you're going to see that Ebe will be removed. I see that Ebe is no longer there. Then lastly, the unshift adds to the start of the array. So if I want to add the start of the array, I can add my Abel back. Then I can add my, what is that guy's name? King. So if I save this, you see that you add Abel and Ken to the start of the array. So this is the first 4 methods. Now the next one I want to learn is splice. Now there is a problem with using shift or pop, slice, pop or push, shift and unshift. Now you notice you can actually, when you are popping, you can only pop one at a time. So let's say I want to remove David. That means I have to either shift from the start until I get to David, or I pop from the end until I get to David. So it means I'm losing data that I don't want to intentionally lose. Now, to delete an item from an array, you can use the delete keyword, delete, then best in JS1. And let's say I want to delete, I'm sorry, excuse me. So let's say I want to delete Ken, which has an index of what? 2, so 0, 1, so which has an index of 1. So if I save, sorry, I need to do this upward, if not I will not see. So you notice that Ken is now showing what? Empty. But you notice that even before I deleted, I have the length of the array is 10. Now after I deleted using the delete keyword, it actually showing me 10 because of this empty. So this is not a clean delete. So this introduces us to our splice. So to do a clean delete, I will use, so I'm going to comment this out. So I'm going to comment this out. So I'm going to say best JS1.splice. Now the first argument is the start point. So where is it going to start? The start number. So I want it to be in 1. Then the next one is the type of delete. Do I want to delete or insert? That is, do I want to insert or replace? Now if you insert something, it means you're adding to the container. So you just add to the container. So if there are 5 items and you add at a particular location, it will become what? 10. I mean, if there are 5, it will become 6. Now, if you are replacing, that means you are going to remove an item. So let's say it is a crate of mineral now, and you want to insert into the crate of mineral, and maybe for a beer crate, you know that is 12 and it is 11 inside, and you want to insert one. So you can just insert one to a particular position and remove the one that was in that position and put in the next empty space. So that is insertion. Then to replace now means that, for example, now is either the crate is already full, but there's a brand that you want to add to the crate. So you remove that brand and add the next one. So it then means since the maximum bottles that can be in a beer crate is 12, so if you replace, it then means it will still be what? 12. The length of the bottles or the number of the bottles does not increase. But when you insert, it then means it was actually something like 9 or 11, and you add a new one to a position which you can reorder. So using splice to insert, which can increase the length of the array, you will use 0. So I'll insert at index 0, then I'll add set. So if I do this now, you notice that in index 1, which was originally the position of Cain, you see set had been what? Added, and you see Cain has shifted to index what? 2. So this is when you insert. So this is, use 0 as the second argument of the splice function. It means you're inserting. Insert. Then I'm going to shift that arrow down. Now to replace means that you must remove somebody to take the place. So if I want to replace blessing with fortune, so this is 0, 1, 2, 3. So the index of blessing is 3. I want to replace it with a regard, which meaning stands for good fortune. So if you notice now, if I save this now, blessing will be off and guard will take this position. So you notice that the length of the array will not increase from 11 to 12, but rather it will still remain 11, but a new item has taken this place. So if I save that, you notice that, okay, I need to change this to 1. So if I change that to 1, you notice that it still remains 11, but you see blessing is no longer there, but has taken the place. So if I comment this as such, you notice, if I save this now, you notice that it was 10, but if I insert, you notice that the length of the array increases to what? 11. But when I replace, the length of the array does not increase, but the item there will be replaced. So how do I do a clean delete now? So let's say I want to delete Cain using splice. So remember I want to replace, so I'll use 1, so I'll use 0 1 2. So Ken is 2. So what I'll just need to do is I will not pass anything as the third argument. So if I don't pass anything, it will just delete it. So, and that is a clean delete. You see that it will reduce now from 11 to 10, and you not see Ken again. So if I save that, you notice it's now 10 and Ken is nowhere to be found. So this is how we use the splice to do a clean delete. So using the splice, you see that you have more room. You can actually add to any position that you want in an array. You can actually replace or remove an item that you want from any position. So it does not force you to delete what you don't want to delete by using the pop or shift. So that is it for arrays. So in our next video, we are going to learn about objects.